At IHM VCU, we've always been here for you. You are and always will be our top priority. We care about your financial health, and we are here. IHM VCU is a proud supporter of WQPT.
The future. That's where our minds are at Western Illinois University Quad Cities. We are innovators searching for something new outside of the textbooks. Dog-loving, leadership-driven, world-changing. Whether you choose to study on campus or online, your future is designed on your terms. Start your future at wiu.edu/QC.
Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Sing Group at Merrill, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 35 years.
Rethinking education services in Iowa and a major change coming to the Figge Art Museum in the cities. AEAs facing changes. It came as a surprise to many that Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds decided in January for drastic changes to the state's 9 area education agencies. Those are the state-run education groups that provide educational services, special education services, teacher and administrator recruitment, and several other aspects that do help unify school districts across the state and improve rural and urban school district services. The governor targeted the AEA's special education services, saying school districts should be the best stewards of special education money rather than that money starting at AEAs before being allotted to those districts. Republican lawmakers agreed, and now AEA changes must be made. We talked with Mississippi Bend Area Education Agency Director of Education Services, Shane Williams.
So let's start with the changes that the legislature has committed for AEAs. How are you implementing that? Because you have basically a summer to get it done.
Yeah, so I'll kind of break those into 2 buckets. So I'll start with the special education area. So special education funding for 24-25 will receive no changes. So for us, in terms of service delivery, the staffing, all of that is a continuation of the past. We continue to receive 100% of those funds. Now that does change in 25-26, during which we will receive 90% of those special education funds. 10% of those funds go directly to the school district, and school districts can then elect to continue working with the AEA to ensure the provisioning of those services are delivered to their students and to their staff in the same way they always have been, or they can use those 10% of funds elsewhere. But for the 24-25 year, our goal, our plan, our focus is to maintain the world-class services that our students and staff members and stakeholders have grown accustomed to on the special education side. So really where the most radical changes are occurring right now are in what we call the general education world. So that would comprise media services as well as educational services. And to kind of articulate a little bit about what those entail. So media services would be like robotics, STEM kits, Lego kits, and then your traditional media such as books. We also have provide access to 21 different online databases for students and staff to use for research and those types of things. So that's really our media funding. Our educational services funding includes school improvement supports, curriculum instruction and assessment supports, supports for teachers in deploying new curriculum, resources, professional development, support for school leaders as well. So that's kind of the educational services bucket. If you blend those, we call them general education. So we have our special education, which is pretty much a continuation from the past, and then our general education. What's changed in terms of the general education funding mechanism is 40% of those funds that we have historically received come to us now, and 60% of those funds now go directly to the school district. So you can imagine as we're scrambling the jets there on how do we ensure a continuation of the high quality services, knowing that we only receive 40% of the funds that we've historically received. So we've really had to pivot very quickly. We've had to work with our staff, but most importantly, we've had to work with our external stakeholders. So our school superintendents, curriculum directors, and principals to find out what are their priorities in terms of 24-25, and how can we match our services to their needs. That way we can recapture some of that 60% that goes to the school districts And our school districts are awesome partners. We're very fortunate in Eastern Iowa to have school superintendents who genuinely care about student achievement and about supports for their teachers. So we've, over the course of the past couple of weeks, met with our superintendents, and we're starting to shape what those plans look like in terms of implementing supports and services for them for 24-25. So we start off at that foundational 40%, and now we're building from that to ensure stability of staffing for our team, as well as stability of professional development resources and those other pieces for schools, so that they see no loss in services. So that's really what has really dominated our time since the passage of the legislation a couple of months ago, is really shaping up and formulating partnerships with our school districts to ensure there's no loss in high quality services for their teams.
Has there been an impact at the AEA as far as staffing is concerned? Because we had heard that there were a number of people who had left the area education agencies, mainly because they feared for the future.
Yeah, we've seen a significant exodus of staff. And a large driving force when you sit down and you talk to those staff members is just the uncertainty about the future, particularly in those general education supports and services. They know we're receiving 40% for 24-25, and we're going to build on that. However, for 25-26, 100% of that funding goes to the school district. So you can kind of imagine that creates a level of fear and uncertainty in the minds of our staff members. And so many of them have pursued career opportunities outside the AEA system, and we've supported them. We completely understand and empathize with why they might be doing that. And that school districts and others have been eager to hire them because we have such high quality staff here. So they found no difficulty in finding gainful employment. The downside for us is anytime you lose one of those staff members that is such a vital part of our team, it certainly has a hit, not just on your capacity to deliver on your mission, but it also has a ripple effect on the climate and culture, and really kind of just amplifies that sense of uncertainty and what the future might hold. So, and I would say maybe a surprise, at least when we have this conversation with other people, it's actually impacted some of our special education staffing as well. We've lost a number of really high quality difference makers in the special ed world too. And a lot of that is just because of this overall feeling of what is the future of the AEA system? Am I going to have a certain employment in the future? Those pieces. So many of those folks have also sought employment in school districts. All that said, we're still confident that we're going to be able to deliver on the mission, that we're going to be able to work and collaborate with our partners in school districts and across the AEA system to make sure that there's no loss in the supports and services for students and staff, and those pieces that are really just drivers of meeting the needs of kids and staff in school districts.
But it must have some kind of an impact. And I wonder if it has a greater impact on Iowa's rural school districts.
Yeah, it definitely has. I would say that probably one of the biggest challenges that has surfaced as a consequence of this is just several of our rural schools are not going to be able to afford maybe the services that they have had in the past. So as we move into a fee for service model, or a service for a fee, so every service that we provide moving forward has to come with a fee. It's very different for us. It's a mindset shift. We're used to having principal or superintendent calls us up and says, "Hey, we need service X." We're boots on the ground the next day delivering that service. Now we have to step back and pause and say, "Okay, we're happy to do this. However, it comes with a cost." And moving into a monetizing type of environment is certainly a pretty big change for us. The impact specifically on rurals is, so the AEA systems were predicated on this idea of large economies of scale. So we're able to leverage large economies of scale, and then we capture the efficiencies that result from those economies of scale. Well, when you break up the system into smaller discrete units, like what we do now with the way the funding works, the people who suffer the biggest detrimental impact on that are the smaller school districts. I guess just to put it in probably too simplistic a terms, the volume, the scale of systems working together and having the way that our historic funding has worked is, we in some sense are able to subsidize those smaller school districts that don't have the same level of funding. But again, now that we move to a service for a fee or a fee for service model, you lose out on those volumes and on those economies of scale. And unfortunately, that does have an impact on our rural schools, who are going to have trouble funding the same level of supports that they've received in the past.
I don't want to go too far back in history, but I mean, did this somewhat catch you by surprise from the governor's this condition of the state address all the way through the Republican legislature approving this? And do you have a feeling that this is the beginning of some type of a dismantling of the AEAs by the administration and the legislature?
You know, I would say yes, we were caught off guard. Since that time, we focused more on how do we move forward rather than retrospectively the what and the why and the how. We're really focused on students and staff and the people that depend on our services, including families of children with disabilities. I'm confident that, you know, the legislation puts us in a different position. I'm confident that we're going to be able to make all of our services come to life for students the same way that we always have. Now, I'm not saying that road is easy. For sure, it's fraught with a number of difficulties, but I think that we'll figure this out. The key thing for us is in terms of maintaining our viability, is partnerships with school districts. So we've really focused and prioritized conversations with superintendents and school district leaders so that we can problem solve together. Like, AEAs don't exist in a vacuum or in an isolated system. We're all interdependent on one another. So I would say yes, caught by surprise, but we haven't focused too much on that. We've really focused primarily on how do we problem solve and move forward together. And ultimately, you know, we want students to be the ones that are the beneficiaries here. We want to make sure that they remain the top and highest priority, and that's really where our focus has been.
AEAs have also been very active as far as recruitment of new teachers and making sure that there's new blood in the system. And one of the things the legislature did do, of course, was raise minimum starting pay for teachers, as well as veteran teachers with 12 years experience. Do you think that's going to help you and school districts attract better teachers and keep teachers longer?
Yeah, I think that school districts for sure will benefit from that. And I'm optimistic about the future. We know that the teacher pipeline has been really suffering for a number of years, but I think that increasing the salary and the wages will attract new blood and new life into that pipeline. And I think it's, you know, I commend people for getting that across the finish line, because I think it's long overdue. Now, in terms of AEAs, that's not really our target group. We hire occupational therapists, speech language therapists, school psychologists, social workers, and others. The folks that we hire, you know, probably won't see much of the benefit from that. But we're happy for school districts because we are completely in support of the teaching profession. They're our partners. We couldn't do what we do without them, and we know that they couldn't do what they need to do without us. So we're very happy that legislation was passed and provides that critical compensation for teachers in the classrooms and in schools.
As of July 1st, you're now the new head of the Mississippi Bend Area Education Agency. Tell me, what is your top priority now that you've got the top job at such a transitional period of time for AEAs?
Top priority is always students. That is just fundamental to our existence. It's a critical part of our mission. And if we truly want to be a mission-driven organization, we have to deliver for students. That's all of our top priority. I would say the next couple of pieces: relationships with school districts, particularly superintendents and other school district leaders. That's a big part of what I do. Building relationships with our legislators so that they understand the critical value that AEAs bring to students and to families in our communities. And then ultimately, it's about our own staff. If we don't have a strong team, then we can't deliver on the mission. So supporting students, supporting school district staff, and then supporting our internal staff. Those are the three highest priorities that I have moving into this new role.
And you're sure that AEAs will be able to function effectively in Iowa?
I am confident, yes. And part of that is we're going to for sure have gaps. This is, you know, I can't say that there's been no consequence. There's for sure, we talked about the staff shortages. What we're planning to do is to work across AEA systems. So we have adjacent AEA. So for example, we have a partner AEA in the Cedar Rapids area, Grant Wood. So if we have a shortage area, we can call up Grant Wood and they maybe have some excess staff capacity. We'll work across geographic boundaries. Likewise, if we have some excess capacity that they can maybe leverage, we'll be happy to support their school districts. Our goal through all this is to keep the impact as far away from students as possible, and also on the staff and families that we support. So we're going to work together across the AEA system in a way that we probably haven't captured the advantages of in the past. And so moving forward together as a statewide system, I think is one thing that we're going to do moving forward to make sure that we can deliver on all of our missions.
Shane, anything else you'd like to add?
No, just what I would like to add is thank you to all of the advocates in communities that have stepped forward. They've seen the firsthand value that AEAs have provided. That includes value to students, value to staff, value to families. I think that it's, we wouldn't be where we are without their support. I'd also like to just thank our superintendent group. Our own staff has really weathered the storm. We're going to come through on the other side. We're going to continue providing world-class services. It's going to take some work. It's not going to be easy, but I'm confident we can do it together.
Our thanks to Mississippi Bend Area Education Agency Director of Education Services, Shane Williams. Quad City musician Angela Meyer is enjoying life in the cities. Last year, she was named the Midwest Country Music Organization Win New Artist of the Year. Angela also performed for us as part of our Chords and Coffee series. So here's Angela Meyer with Muddy Water.
I said I'm drowning. I said then stand. I said I'm out of here. And I said when, like a buckle on a bedpost, you're just hanging around. And ain't a damn prize left to be won in this town. And it feels deep when the roads get tangled and you can't sleep, trying to keep a dream alive. Look around and what's pulling you under will bury you alive. Muddy the water to make it feel deep, and muddy the water so you don't leave. When you feel resistance start to dip, it's just a season and you're planting seeds. And soon you learn how low this grew to flow effortlessly. I said I'm drowning. I said then stand. I said I'm out of here. And I said when.
Angela Meyer with Muddy Water. Now, she's busy this summer. One of her next gigs is headlining the Battle of the Mississippi Rodeo. That's coming up July 13th at the Mississippi Valley Fairgrounds. The Figge Art Museum is creating a new wing to help house a multi-million-dollar art collection that's gifted to the Davenport Museum. Now, in some ways, it will be transformative for the Figge. We talked with one of the two senior curators at the Figge, Vanessa Safe, about the large gift from Dr. Randy and Linda Lewis of Davenport. We're talking about a $14 million art donation from Linda and J. Randolph Lewis collection. How huge is this?
This is really huge.
Is it transformative?
It is absolutely transformative for the museum. It's hard to overstate how important it is for the Figge. It elevates everything that we're going to be able to do in the future. These artworks are ones by groundbreaking artists in American art that impacts hard to describe how far their impact stretched. They were very astute collectors, Linda and Randy, and they had a very circumspect view of American art and movements in American art. And so as they were building this collection, they were really targeting transformational artists, and so in the end, it's going to be able to transform what we do.
It's amazing. I mean, you think of art museums, but then you also think of art collectors, and it's just amazing what some of these collections are and what they contain. And when the Figge announced this gift, this donation of this artwork, it was said that it kind of fills in the gaps for the Figge, because the Figge is trying to tell a story of American art. How does it fill that gap?
So the Figge, which was originally the Davenport Municipal Art Gallery, was founded by a gift of 334 artworks by Charles Auguste Figge. And so from the very beginning, we've benefited from donations of art, and that has helped us build the cornerstones of the collection. And now that also means that the art that we received, like with Dr. Walter Neiswanger in the 1960s with his gift of Haitian art.
And that was the next huge donation and really changed, well, like you said, the Davenport Museum of Art at that time.
Exactly. And so for an institution like us, we've always had very limited funds in terms of what we've been able to purchase. Now, and as we've built, we've tried to make fill in gaps as we go. But the artworks in the Lewis collection are ones that we would never be able to really, most of them are ones we would never be able to approach in terms of purchasing for the museum. And the Davenport Municipal Art Gallery and then the Davenport Art Museum, we have works that are strong, like in regionalists, like Grant Wood.
Exactly.
John Stewart Curry, Thomas Hart Benton, and then Spanish colonial works from Charles Auguste Figge and Dr. Walter Neiswanger with his Haitian art collection. Many of the works from the mid-century by these really important artists were not being collected at the time by the Davenport Art Museum, Davenport Museum of Art. And so it's one of those things where after a certain point they become unapproachable in terms of their value.
Absolutely.
Because as time goes on and as evaluations of art history develop, these artists, their importance becomes more and more clear, which means that the prices of the work continue to rise and rise.
Tell me about what this donation does as far as elevating the Figge on a national or a regional stage.
So the artworks that are part of the gift by like Marsden Hartley, for instance, these artworks are ones that you would normally only be able to see in really established art collections, but we now have 6. So there's and the span that they have, they collected over 30 years of his career. And so they really picked works that were representative of these developmental stages in his career, but also his artistic development. And then they were also reflective of larger art movements. And that kind of story is one that now we're going to be able to tell through his work and through the work of other artists in the collection.
When you see a collection like this, it is amazing. It tells a story also of the collector. Like you said, the skill that they had in finding these pieces of art.
Exactly, and also their keen eye. So
yeah, exactly.
And that makes it really interesting from a couple different vantage points because art is subjective. How people experience art, what they find appealing in art, what they are interested in when they're viewing it, how they connect to it, and so that part of the story, as they built this collection, what they found and why they decided to invest in it. That's also it's also an interesting angle to talk about.
Absolutely. So tell me when the public can actually start seeing, because it's pretty quick.
Oh yeah, we will be displaying some of the works starting about July 21st. And then after that, we have plans to exhibit the collection all of the works in the collection in a special exhibition starting early 2025. So we will integrate some into the permanent collection wing starting July 21st.
Totally different
Or
top.
the Lewis wing.
Exactly, yes, as it's now
Exactly.
going to be called, which
Yes.
is very cool. Another program that's coming up, Figge highlighting a Walter Wick exhibit. I want to bring that up. It's starting July 6th. Best known for those I Spy picture books, and this is kind of a neat exhibition as well.
Yes, that is the popular I Spy book. So it's Walter Wick. There are these really complex models that he creates and then takes photographs of them to create these that series of children's books.
Just a unique take on art.
Oh yeah, and it also, in addition to the craft that's involved in the creation of these artworks, it also will appeal to all ages, but especially, I think, children.
Yeah, I think that's what's cool
Yeah.
about this exhibition is that it takes a very unique form of art that you don't see almost anywhere else, and like you said, it's great for all ages.
Yes, absolutely, and I think with this too, a lot of the generation of people in their 30s and 40s who now have children of their own, they're going to be able to share this. That was a very popular series and continues to be. They'll be able to share it with their children.
So it's the Walter Wick exhibit, the I Spy picture books, that opens July 6th.
Yes.
Vanessa Safe, Senior Co-Curator at the Figge Art Museum in Davenport. On the air, on the radio, on the web, on your mobile device, and streaming on your computer. Thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
At IHM VCU, we've always been here for you. You are and always will be our top priority. We care about your financial health, and we are here. IHM VCU is a proud supporter of WQPT.
The future. That's where our minds are at Western Illinois University Quad Cities. We are innovators, searching for something new outside of the textbooks. Dog-loving, leadership-driven, world-changing. Whether you choose to study on campus or online, your future is designed on your terms. Start your future at wiu.edu/QC.
Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Sing Group at Merrill, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 35 years.